We're getting into spooky season here in the VR space, as are a lot of spaces, and if you know me, you know I am a fairly decent horror fan. Sure, some are a little too scary for me, looking at you, Madison VR, but for the most part I enjoy this genre quite a lot. But that wasn't always the case. There was a time where I wouldn't touch any aspect of horror at all, but today I'm going to be explaining to you how PSVR2 especially, but VR as a whole, has made the horror genre something that I can really envelop myself in and appreciate a lot more than I used to.
Let's go get it. What in the fuck?
Our story starts way back on the PSVR 1. And while we're looking at Resident Evil 8 as my main example today, the one we're starting with is Resident Evil 7. This game was brought to life through the PSVR 1, and while you only used the DualShock controller to move around and interact with the world, it was more immersive than any other horror game I'd ever played. Gone were my days of playing Soma on the flat screen, or playing Outlast without actually being in that world. Resi 7 actually introduced me to a way of playing the game that makes you appreciate it so much more by being placed inside of it. Everything around you is to scale, and it's all the more terrifying for that. Sure, I still have that horrendous fear of being scared in these horror games, being attacked by whatever horrific creature is roaming around these environments, and Resi 7 was no different, but it was simply so vivid that first time I put on the headset and was approaching the house of that game for the first time. Flash forward to PSVR 2's launch, and there were no horror games that I even considered really being excited for. I did cover Resi 8 when that first came out, but I quickly let it go. I played a couple hours for a video, had some funny moments.
Who the fuck is in my house? Oh good, great. Okay, well this doesn't look sus at all. Oh fuck.
And moved on with my life, covering games that mostly weren't in the horror genre. However, a couple months later I came back to Resi 8 at the request of you guys, and I really got stuck in and played the entire thing start to finish. That's the video that went live yesterday, was a recap and basically a stitched together version of every single one of those episodes. And as I edited that together and rewatched a lot of those videos, I stumbled across the one thing that really made me appreciate these horror games more than I ever could in the flat screen. And Resident Evil 8 was my first exposure to it. Now, a lot of people outside the horror space see the games as nothing more as a way to spook yourself. And that is true. One of the main factors of watching a horror playthrough, mine included, is to see me get scared at all of the moments that really jump out at you and the incredible sound design that creeps you out, the atmosphere that builds. But there's so much artistry gone into these games as well, and that is the main thing for me, is that on the flat screen I would breeze through so many locations, so much character and environmental work that I just wouldn't really pick up because I was running through, I wasn't feeling like I was there. When I first whacked on a virtual reality headset and played Resident Evil 8 for the first time, what struck me wasn't how scary it was, even though, you know, it definitely was, the opening of that game especially, but it was the detail. It was the lighting. It was the color and contrast. It was the modeling and the animation work that I'd seen previous clips of through trailers, but I'd never been up close and personal with it like this before. I wasn't a big horror fan before that moment, but from that moment on, especially when I decided to take on the game on a full playthrough, after that moment I was a horror fan.
Oh my god, that's incredible. Holy shit.
Some may argue that Resi 8 and 4 aren't the scariest of horror games, and to be honest, I would agree with you. Later on especially, they become more action-oriented, but a lot of those moments were quite scary for me. But being in that world, in full 3D scale, and seeing all of these characters and exploring these locations really felt like I had a much more personal attachment to it. That can be said for all VR experiences. There are certain games that I would never have tried in a million years if they were flat screen because they simply wouldn't appeal to me. But it's thanks to you guys and thanks to this job essentially that I've been able to jump around and test so many genres that I would never have even got my hands on. And horror is a big aspect of that.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
There are so many ingenious uses of virtual reality in the horror space. Like with Propagation Paradise Hotel and Overdark, and Madison 2, what a phenomenal and terrifying game that is. I'll have to finish it on the channel one day, but Resi 8 was the first game that really opened my eyes to that. The main example I can give you that really stuck with me is using the flashlight. Throughout the entire game, you have coat pockets that you can open, and in there are your items. One of the items in there that is with you from start to finish in the game is the flashlight that you use to illuminate the area. this is still present in the flat screen version, but in the VR game you really feel like you're exploring these locations and lighting them up because you're holding it. It's something that I can't explain very well through words or even through this video, but if you've played the game, you know how great it is to be able to interact and see the light beams dart off different objects, to cast shadows realistically, and to really immerse yourself in this world as an explorer of somewhere where you're not supposed to be. And it's an aspect of these horror games that I really have got now because of the virtual reality implementation in games like Resi. There are certain instances in these games where I would stop and think, fuck, that looks real.
Whoa, that might be the most real looking thing I've seen in this game so far. Is this. That looks real. Just the way the light interacts with that.
And again, watching through my playthrough of the game yesterday, that really opened my eyes to how many moments I had throughout that game that I can't even count on my fingers how many times I stopped and said, wow, this looks fantastic, or wow, the lighting here is amazing, or the modeling work, and I never would have experienced that if I hadn't gone into the genre because of PSVR2. This of course applies to all VR platforms, and I implore you, if you are on any VR platforms and have never played some of the Resident Evil games like Resi 4 or 8 or 7 in VR, there are mods on PC for it, or if you're on PlayStation, please go and play them because there's a whole different experience. Anyway, thank you all for watching and listening to my little rant about PSVR2 especially, but also just VR games in general in the horror genre and how I've grown to love them over the last year and a half. Thank you to our patrons and YouTube members as well: Luke Bentley, Phil Irving, Hazit Ace Gamer, Hippie Pickle, Jin007, A License to Chill, Sun WTF, Fat Controllers, The Gamechanger, Andrew Ehrenreich, Jason Parker, Lamar Hall, Jordy Bansma, Lemon64K, Outcast VR, Prophecy777, Gundy Gundy, Salvador, and David Gerhardt. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.
Hello? Oh, fucking hell. Fuck.